Well, greetings, everyone. This is Mike Rochelle with the Association for Information Technology Professionals Lone Star. I'm very excited tonight to be joined by our special guest, Joe Vaughn. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. And it looks like you're in your beautiful downtown Dallas offices.
I am. I'm hiding out in downtown so that I didn't have barking dogs and lots of interruptions tonight.
Yeah, I left my dog downstairs too. He's not been behaving lately, so saved us the barking in here as well. Harish, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful, Mike. Welcome, Joe, for the AITP event.
Thanks, Harish.
And Harish, I'm guessing you're in the colony?
I'm Little Elm.
Little Elm, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
And then Akshay and Brian, you guys are both in Flower Mound. How are you guys tonight?
We are doing good, Mike. Thanks for asking. And welcome, Joe.
Welcome, Joe. Yep. Excited to hear you. And boy, we got some beautiful weather this week in Texas.
Amazing one.
Yeah. It's nice to not be hot all the time, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's get right to it. We have quite a bit of information that Joe is going to share with us tonight. And we have a couple of extra things that we want to talk about tonight too. So Brian, you want to kick us off on what we do here at AITP Lone Star for those who are new?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, AITP Lone Star is a group, a network group, IT professionals, really for all of Texas, Houston, Dallas, Austin, many of those areas in between. So it's really an opportunity for like-minded professionals to get to know each other, learn from each other, and to get to know other industries within the IT sector. So if you ever want to get involved and understand what other challenges are out there, whether it be BI related, ERP related, any IT related, we'd love to be a part of that, and we'd love to have you a part of that. So it's really exciting to learn from other leaders in the area, and we'd love to have you be a part of this.
Thanks very much, Brian. Harish, you want to talk a little bit about membership?
Absolutely, Mike. It's a great to be part of AITP Lone Star. I'm sure everybody drinks a coffee or two a day. And the cost per month is $699 spending coffee. And the yearly subscription is $91. And it's a great, you have subsequent slides where I'm going to talk about the value the membership brings to you. So I encourage every one of you to join and hear from the likes of Joe in terms of how they're transforming their business, how they're enabling business succeed through technology. And also it's a great place for networking. And thank you for all of us to joining the session.
Thanks very much, Harish. One of the exciting things, Akshay, that we have going next month is that we're going to announce the IT Champions of the Year. So we've had several speakers come. Do you want to kind of just walk through quickly who came May through August?
Yeah, so in May, we had 7 from Metal Inc., but now he's with Gap. And then in June, we had Ed Max, who comes from Mark Advisory. And then in July, we had Andy Ivy from Colorado Engineers. And then in August, we had Clay coming from Orthofix. He kind of shared the digital experience and growing rank leadership in mergers and acquisitions, which was a very eye-opening sessions for a lot of people in this group, talking about mergers and acquisitions.
Absolutely.
And then in September, we had Amir, and now you're going to be listening from Joe probably within few minutes.
That's right. And then last but not least for this year is Renee Arrington, who's the COO and president at Pearson Partners. So we have some phenomenal people from the IT industry. We call them our IT champions. Next month, we're going to be having some of our partners talk, and we'll also be unveiling the awards on our program. So look forward to that. The kicker is that only members get to vote. So we'll be voting during this month between now and the next session, which is the third Thursday of the month. So join now, get in on the voting, And once we on the board decide who's actually going to run that survey, we'll get it out to the members. It is very much my pleasure to introduce to everybody Joe Vaughn. Joe and I actually met in 2003 when he was I think you were a senior principal at James Martin Company was the name of the company before Headstrong, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Way back in the day. I was the facilitator of a learning forum that he was a part of, and it was a great thing. But we've stayed in touch throughout the years and done some great work together in the industry over the last couple of years as well. I asked him what exciting things that he was doing, and when he told me, I'm like, man, the only reason that I'm disappointed is that I have to wait till October to have this conversation, because we set it up back in May. Just about everybody that I called said, yes, I'll speak. So then the question was what the order was going to be. So it's really exciting, Joe, that you're not on one of your world travel adventures right now, or in the air flying your own plane, and that you can join us tonight. So for those of you who don't know Joe, I'm going to read his bio for you. So Joe Vaughn was appointed MoneyGram's Chief Technology Officer in 2021 and leads product engineering through the adoption of emerging practices and technologies in software engineering, cloud computing, data analytics, and machine learning. In the latest chapter of his career, he's leading this 80-year-old global money transfer company through a massive transformation. In his tenure, MoneyGram has exceeded its goals with more than 50% of its transactions digitally enabled, launching the first ever global crypto to cash platform and migration to the cloud. Before joining MoneyGram, Joe spent over 25 years leading technology teams in industry and consulting advisory services for companies like Capital One, Wells Fargo, and American Airlines. Joe was born and raised in North Texas area. He finished his bachelor's with the University of North Texas and his MBA with Abilene Christian University. He is a married father of 3 and is a licensed commercial pilot. And if he's not at 8,000 feet with his head in the clouds, he spends his time building his cabin on the Texas-Oklahoma border. So Joe, it's really my pleasure to meet with you. We're going to try something new tonight, and I'm going to enable your desktop here in just a second. So welcome, and bear with me a second while I get your stream brought up. All right, there you go.
All right, let's see if I got it here. Are you presenting for me, Mike?
I think this is your desktop.
Okay.
So I think I just enabled your desktop.
Let me.
It looks like it's on page 9 of a deck. Digital growth strategy, if you can see that on our side.
Gonna flip it over to a window to see if I can share this window now and change the view.
Okay. I'll remove that one and I'll add the other one. Okay, now I have MoneyGram transformation story up.
Wonderful. All right. I feel like a little technology glitch along the way. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'm super excited about my career and life at MoneyGram. It is nothing short of an adventure, to say the least. So I'll start off with telling you how I understand MoneyGram started, right? So shortly around near the end of World War II, right, 80 years ago, people needed to move money in the world, right? So maybe Harish's great-grandfather was in New York and he needed to send money back to India or to Pakistan or Senegal, right? And so imagine walking into a drugstore with $100 US dollars in cash and saying, "Hey, I want to send this money to my mom." And so somebody ledgers that, right, with pencil and paper on a ledger, and they collect $100, and then they make a phone call to another agent that's in a store or a plaza in Bombay, and that says, "Hey, we've collected money from from Harish, his mom's going to come by and pick it up. And so his mom comes by, she picks up her rupees, and now she's got cash. And so when I think about what our business looked like, that's likely what it looked like 80 years ago. And so now 80 years later, the world is changing dramatically. It's changing so fast. And, MoneyGram is transforming into a fintech. It's a super exciting time to be here. And what I would tell you tonight is we believe we finished sort of our first generation, our first wave, our first pass at digital transformation. And we're starting to work on what we call MoneyGram 2.0. And this will be the second sort of flavor of our digital transformation, continuing to accelerate, continuing to compete. So this is what I want to preview with you tonight and go through some of what we've been doing. Just maybe give you a little insight on how the world is changing. So the first thing I would share with you is this slide, which talks a little bit about our business. And what I described for you is in the gray at the bottom, right? Somebody walks into a retail agent location with cash. Something happens in the middle, and then cash gets delivered, typically in a different currency on the other end. In another country, another part of the world. And we have some 450,000 agent locations around the globe, servicing 200 countries. Everything in red is the digital experience and digital transformation that my team, that our chief product officer, that our executives are now working on as we transform the company. So, a few metrics of the company: we transfer $40 billion a year cross border. In 2023, we passed our goal of having more than 50% of our transactions digital. So we're moving from the physical down below to the digital. That goal was originally set to be reached at the end of Q3 2024, and we passed it at the end of Q1 2023. We have the ability to deliver funds to more than 5 billion bank accounts and mobile wallets worldwide. We have the 440 global retail locations. We operate in 200 countries, and then we operate in what we call corridors. And so the way to think of a corridor, it's, hey, I need to send money from the US to Great Britain, or from the US to France, or from the US to India, or from the US to South Africa, right? Each one of those is a corridor. And what we end up with is about 15,000 what we call currency pairs. So I'm going to convert US dollars to rupees, or US dollars to yen, all right, just depending on what currency. Or we even send US dollars into other countries as well. In terms of our sort of digital transformation, we have our direct-to-consumer experience. We call it MGO, MoneyGram Online. We work a lot with digital partners. So you may not realize this, but we work a lot with Walmart. Walmart has a couple of mobile apps that are used to transfer money, and they use MoneyGram Services and Rails on the back end. In the Middle East, places like Dubai or Riyadh, we as an American-owned company can't get a financial services license, so we work with digital partners, helping them transfer money into and out of the Middle East. And so, that's great things that we're able to do there. And then finally, we have a product we call MoneyGram Access and MoneyGram Wallet, and we enable our customers to transfer USDC, which is US stablecoin. It's a form of cryptocurrency that's backed by the US dollar. So that's a bit about our business and how we work. Why would people transfer money? Why not just use a bank? Well, you could use a bank, and some of you have probably done international wire transfers, and it's not always easy, and it's certainly not cheap. What I can tell you is our typical user is a migrant. So there's 302 million migrants around the world. So think about people that leave India or leave China and travel to other parts of the world to work, right, to find a better life, or to create a better life for the family, or people that come up from Mexico or Colombia or El Salvador into the U.S. or Canada to work. These people are sending money home to their families, and typically the money's being sent home to mom or to a wife and children, and 45% of the time, right, it's used to buy food or it's used to pay for housing. And so something to think about. It's a lifeline for the 1 billion people in the world that live on $1 a day, less than $1 a day, so the super impoverished. And if you really sort of think about it, 2/3 of the world lives on $10 a day, which just seems amazing to those of us who are living in Texas or America. To just think about what your house payment costs you. Our typical money transfer, is going to be $300 to $400, and so that's going to buy mom in another country food for a month, or it's going to pay for her housing, or it's going to help pay for emergencies if she needs medical care or help of some sort. Some other things I would like to share about our business is I think we have an amazing global impact. So we have great relationships with UNICEF, with the UNHCR organization, which is responsible for refugee aid, and for Red Rose, which is a division of the Red Cross. So these are NGOs that actually use our platforms to deliver aid to refugees and to indigent in 7 countries around the world. And just the past 2 years, we've done over 1 million transactions and delivered over 350 million in aid. It's a core value of ours. So as an organization, we want all of our employees that work in 19 different countries to spend at least a day, if not 2 days a year, volunteering and having a social impact. And then, something else we're pretty proud of is United Nations understands the value of the richer countries being able to send money, back to poor countries, for the migrant to be able to help a brother, a sister, a mother, his children, his wife. And we were the first in our industry to get our cost and fees below 3% for transfers. We're at 2.9%, and we have been for several years now. So this is a little bit more of the social impact that we have, and it's a part of our core values. You may say, well, what about Zelle? What about Venmo? You hear all these other things. Certainly, to some extent, they are competitors for MoneyGram. You're more likely to have heard of Western Union, maybe even of RIA Money Transfer. There are only 2 companies in the world, really, that have the global footprint that we do, right? The ability to serve 200 countries and 20,000 corridors, and the ability to deliver cash or deliver digitally. And those are really MoneyGram or Western Union. RIA is a strong competitor. There's lots of digital competitors that have come on strong. You've heard of Zoom from PayPal. You may have heard of Wise or Remitly. If you have friends that are maybe from Mexico, maybe you've heard of Intermex or Maxi or Via America. So these are cross-border competitors. These are companies that are doing what we do, where you take, let's say, a US dollar and you convert it to a peso and you deliver it into Mexico. Or you take a US dollar and you deliver it into Belgium in euros. Certainly, other competitors are, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle. They tend not to send internationally. It's too expensive for them. The licensing and compliance barriers are too high. So while we may compete with them in isolated sort of sectors, generally our strongest competition's on the left-hand side of this slide. So what does our digital transformation look like? In 2011, this little old idea of, hey, let's allow people to transfer money on a mobile app came along, and about 2% of our transactions in 2011 were on our mobile app. And, we only did it in 5 countries. And, we had what we call account deposit, which is bank deposits in 4 countries. As of April, again, a little more than 50% of our transactions are all digitally enabled. We are now delivering to 150 countries digitally. 83 of those countries have account deposits or banking platforms that we can deliver to, and 47 countries have wallets that we deliver to. What I can tell you is since I got here in 2021, these numbers have doubled. So we had about 74, 75 digitally enabled companies in countries in 2021, and we have since doubled that, and we continue to add more countries, more bank deposit opportunities in countries every month. This is something my team works digitally significantly on and diligently on, because this is an important part of growing our business. So I thought maybe I would give a perspective on things that I've observed in my 3 years at MoneyGram that I never thought I would sort of see or understand. And some of you may or may not have seen this, and in some countries you see more of it than others. But imagine panhandling, which used to be, hey, hand your coins or your spare dollars and drop them in a can. We are seeing more and more instances around the world where panhandlers are panhandling digitally. So I have a picture here of a Chinese man holding his QR code. So if you don't have loose change or coins, that's okay. Pull out your app and send them some digital currency. We have seen a lot of this recently, especially in South America and countries like Brazil and Argentina, where there's a mobile platform called Pix, a lot like Venmo, that's very, very sort of prevalent and used frequently. So I just thought it was very interesting that even panhandling has gone digital, and the super, probably poor and homeless are able to participate in a digital economy. I wanted to share another experience I've had with you since I've been at MoneyGram, and it was around the war in Ukraine and the start of that war in 2022. So before the war, MoneyGram provided our services into Ukraine, and what I can say is about 20% of the transactions were delivered digitally. The other 80% were delivered in cash. They were cash pickup, and as you might imagine, the war broke out, and that's hard on people. But it's pretty amazing at how fast that changed. So within a week, we went from delivering 20% of our transactions digitally to about 75% of our transactions digitally. As you can imagine, people didn't want to be on streets. They didn't want to be walking around, but they still needed sort of money. And we luckily had the infrastructure in place where we could quickly do it digitally if that's what people so chose to do. And I point this out for another reason that I wanted to highlight. In the world for the past 15, 20 years, there's been generally a pretty predictable decline in the use of cash globally. And it's been going down about 2% per year. But what you will see is you'll have these world events, and certainly there's a region that accelerates towards digital. And you still have regions of the world that prefer cash. So if you go to Mexico, they prefer cash. If you go to North Africa, they prefer to have their money delivered, or the Philippines, they prefer to have their money delivered to wallets, not necessarily to banks. So it's just sort of an interesting tale of how in a week, a certain event can move the world, or at least a region of the world, quickly from something that's physical into the digital. And then, the last thing I would just share is I've talked about the importance of migrants. Migration around the world is going to continue. If you're paying attention to the news and stories of the day, you hear about the challenges of migrations into Europe and into the US and Canada. And so this map on the right, we'll continue to see trends where the countries in orange export people and talent to the countries in blue. And that trend will continue for the foreseeable future. And and money will move from the wealthiest countries in North America or Europe towards those other countries. The reality is you have India and China that hold about 2.9 billion people of the world's 8 billion people, and they're doing a great job of educating those people and creating talent that other countries can import. So yeah, panhandling, wars, and migration are changing the world, and they change the way we have to go to market in our business. So, one of the questions I get asked is, hey, what is your digital growth strategy? How are you going to compete? And so I want to talk through some of this, and then I'll show you our product vision. The first thing we have to do is expand our service offerings. So back in the day, probably about 2003, the time I was working with Mike, as I was doing a lot of CRM projects, and there was sort of a rule of thumb that says if you can get 2.7 products into a customer's hands, you have a loyal customer. So much in that vein, MoneyGram is working to expand our offering. So yes, money transfer has been a core of our business for a very long time. We're looking at adding marketplace services and marketplace partners, high yield savings accounts. We do bill payment services. We'll continue to grow on that. And look at that, a duplicated money transfer. That's not very helpful on that slide. So we'll continue to expand product services and offerings. We have to continue to grow our global digital network, right? So I explained that, hey, we're in 150 countries digitally enabled. We want to get to all 200. We want to make sure that we can deliver cash, we can deliver to bank, we can deliver to wallet or crypto in all 200 countries. That would be our goal. And then, the other thing, the third tenet of our digital strategy is we have to position for change. We have to have the right business platform, and we have to have the right technology. So I talked a little bit about how quickly Ukraine changed in a week. And the only reason we were able to respond to that is we had the right platform, the right sort of business model and the right technologies in place that we could quickly shift directions and deliver digitally and less physically. And then the other thing we'll see, and this is true in all things digital, is we have to get better at delivering instant service, and that'll show up in a couple of ways. One is instant payout. So, imagine somebody who is working in Dubai, wants to send money home to Pakistan or to China, and they want to be able to be on the phone with their mom or their sister, hit the send button, and mom or sister says, thanks, I got it, right? Just that instant. And the trick to that is, and this is something we're working on every day, is digital KYC. If I have to have a customer upload a driver's license or provide proof of identity every time they do a transaction, that's not instant service. So we're working on and working with partners to get better at digital KYC, know your customer. Dynamic pricing is sort of an exciting opportunity because I think this is an area where MoneyGram is leading our competitors right now. This is being able to adjust our exchange rates for foreign exchange and our fees in real time. And we're working towards that. By the time we get to March, I think we'll be able to do dynamic pricing that'll be with maybe a 30-minute to 1 hour lag. So I'm super excited about where we're going there. And then finally, we have what we describe as risk and safety. And this is the ability to catch money launderers, catch cartels trying to send their drug money across our network instantly, or romance scams, right? Where we need to be able to intercept funds that maybe are part of a romance scam and protect our consumers. And so risk and safety and being able to do that instantly is a very important part of our growth strategy and being able to deliver instant service. So these are our 4 sort of pillars for our digital growth strategy. What I'd like to do now, and Mike, I hope this plays well, is I want to play this video for you, which it's an internal product vision. This is not something we use for marketing. It'll have a marketing feel, but it'll give you a sense of where we want to take our digital products and services.
For more than 80 years, MoneyGram has been trusted by millions worldwide as a fast, reliable, and convenient way to do more with your money. And now, MoneyGram does more than ever, all from one powerful app. No bank, no problem. Now you can store your money digitally in a MoneyGram cash account without the burdens of traditional banking, with no monthly fees and no minimum balance. Add cash for free with direct deposit and access the cash 2 days earlier than scheduled. Or fund your MoneyGram cash account from any MoneyGram location, digital wallets, and other linked accounts, and access it instantly. And the MoneyGram app gives you options traditional banks won't, like holding your cash in multiple currencies, or as crypto. Everybody wants to save money when they send money. A MoneyGram cash account lets you instantly send money in the US for free to other cash account holders. And international transfers from your MoneyGram cash account get a discount on every transfer. Use our built-in AI chatbot to analyze exchange rates in real time. Or send USDC instead of cash and let your friends or family decide when to convert it. MoneyGram lets you spend your money any way you want. Pay anywhere with the new MoneyGram debit card. Use it to withdraw cash at ATMs. Or link your virtual card to your mobile phone to pay with your device. But you don't just move money, you grow it. MoneyGram offers high-yield savings accounts, so your money can work for you. Curious about crypto? MoneyGram lets you explore and invest in the most popular cryptocurrencies. And when you're ready for even more financial freedom, the MoneyGram digital wallet lets you send and receive USDC on any blockchain that supports it. To make your life easier, the MoneyGram app now has an integrated marketplace to help you find goods and services you need every day at discounted rates, like mobile top-ups. MoneyGram provides mobile top-ups at great rates in more than 150 countries, right from the app. The marketplace also offers prepaid debit and gift cards and important services like insurance and loans. Discover popular MoneyGram features you might not know about, like bill pay and credit building. MoneyGram loves its customers, so we're rewarding you with a robust loyalty program. Earn points for qualified activity and use them for cashback and discounts. Get exclusive offers and benefit from referrals. The MoneyGram app is a financial destination which sets your money free to do whatever you want it to do, today and tomorrow. One place, one family, one MoneyGram.
So that's our product vision. My teams and our chief product officer continue to work every day to make that a reality. But I thought I'd also take a minute and just talk about how we're progressing as an innovator in our industry. So I talked a little bit about USDC and using stablecoin integration as a form of digital currency. It's really US dollars. We do have the ability for people to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum and other things, Litecoin, on our app. But we think stablecoin will become a form of currency, digital currency in the future. And so we're building our infrastructure now in preparation for whatever changes or however that evolves in the world. As most people are, we're leaning heavier and more often on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And in many ways, it's an exciting time because we're buying a lot of the services. Building is pretty hard because you have to build that data sciences expertise, and there's a bit of a shortage of it in the industry. So what we find is, the artificial intelligence and machine learning that we are using, it's reducing complexity. It's driving accelerated decisions. It's driving our speed of service. It's pretty incredible, and it's delivering some amazing insights that are helping us manage our business and grow. With 440,000 retail agent locations, it's pretty hard to keep up with all of them. Well, our data sciences team built a machine learning model, and now we're able to sort of identify which of those agents seem to have stopped using MoneyGram services. And the really sort of interesting thing about this story is, for 100,000, 150,000, we built this machine learning model And in the first 6 or 7 months of this year, it delivered, we think, $1 million in revenue. And that's just because when an agent goes dormant, now we have a salesperson go out and sit with them and work with them and say, hey, are you having a problem with our service? Are you having a problem with our system? And we get them reactivated and moving forward. So just a great example of how artificial intelligence and machine learning can help a business. Innovation readiness. I have a technology strategy that's based on 3 tenets: modernize, simplify, and accelerate. And so when I got here, we were 10% of the way in the cloud, and then by mid 2023, we were 90% in the cloud. In fact, all of our money transfer business is in the cloud. I have some old business segments that are still on-prem, and we'll get those moved next year. It's very much based on cloud technologies, and then we focused on building a developer platform. So I've talked about our digital partnerships, especially in the Middle East or with Walmart and others. The developer platform, we have a developer portal. You can see our API infrastructure. You can code to it, and you can execute money transfers with MoneyGram. So one of the things that we've really focused on since I joined is becoming a product-driven organization, and that's been a massive part of our transformation. When I got here, it was very much a traditional IT organization that was designed to create business efficiencies. And my partner, our Chief Product Officer, Sarah Vassar, who's just an amazing talent and leader, she and I have been working hard to get product focus on customers and market segments and product features that'll help grow our business. And I think we're having amazing success. So Mike and I had been in touch in the past 2 weeks. And he said, hey, Joe, you had that little cybersecurity event. Would you mind just talking about that a little bit? So I thought I would share a few things with you. And just share a perspective, and then happy to take questions on anything I've talked about tonight. So on September 20th, we identified some suspicious activity in our corporate systems. So think of our back office systems, and quickly analyzing the activity, we figured out that someone had socially engineered their way into our corporate network. And that they were doing things that we didn't like, and we didn't know what their intent was. So we met with our ELT, and we made a decision in a matter of minutes. And the decision was to disconnect our business from the internet, essentially taking our systems offline to disrupt whoever this was that was in the platform. Through that disruption, we were able to avoid deployment of ransomware and malware. So that was never deployed. And we were able to successfully evict and restart our business 3 days later. So that was the event. That's what happened. There's a lot that I wish I could share that we're still working through. But I'll just share some observations based on this experience and things that I see going on in the industry. I think this sort of behavior is highly destructive beyond just burglary.
Absolutely.
We think the actors that wanted into our environment wanted to do what they've done to some other organizations, which is extract as much data as they can, get some ransomware deployed, and then force you to negotiate for a ransom under duress. You might say, well, it's a white-collar crime or it's embezzlement. I think my perspective is much different, having lived through this most recent event. And here's why. I'm sitting, in a hotel room working on the issue, and I'm seeing some of our internal communications, and I'm seeing pictures from one of our salespeople that's in Miami. And he's taking pictures of these employees that work on cruise ships who, their cruise had ended. They were in Miami. They had just gotten paid for the week, and they were trying to send money home. And they couldn't use MoneyGram Services because we were offline. And, within a couple hours, they had to get back on the ship and leave, and they wouldn't get another chance until they returned from the next voyage. And so I just had to sit there and kind of wonder how many people didn't eat that week in, rural parts of the world or indigent parts of the world, or how many people weren't able to buy their medication or didn't have their basic needs met. And so that's my observation is this is a crime. And yes, we all take it seriously, but maybe we need to ratchet it up a bit. The other thing I would ask everyone is, does your business continuity plan include the ability or the plan for shutting down your business? So I would say no one's ever written a business continuity plan that says, hey, shut it all down. We had done a tabletop exercise early this year, and it was similar to what we were seeing. And I think learning from that exercise, we made sort of a radical decision that the best way to protect the business was actually to disconnect it and shut it down. The third thing I would say is the threat actors, they're incredibly talented. Like, I'd love to have some of this talent, more of this talent on my team. They were very fluent in cloud technologies, whether it be AWS or Google GCP Cloud or Microsoft's Azure. The talent and expertise was deep in the group that did this to MoneyGram. I would also say, I think you can do a lot of things right? You can have all the information security best practices. You should follow them, and you should do those things, but it's not a guarantee that you're protected. The world is changing fast. Again, these groups have incredible talent and expertise. And so you have to have plans to sort of mitigate and manage. As I sort of read other things and I looking at what happened to MoneyGram and starting to understand it more, human error is just a continued risk for everybody. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, Capital One had their first big breach, and it was because someone left a firewall unconfigured on the network that someone got through and took a bunch of data. And so those types of human error are just, we've got to find ways to detect it or drive out more of it, and the configuration or usage of our systems, our help desk, or whatever that may be. And then finally, I'll leave you with a future-looking perspective. IBM, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and several others are working on quantum computing, which is going to change the way computers solve for algorithms. And even this week, a Chinese university, I think, published a paper on how they'd used a quantum computer to solve the RSA encryption algorithm. And so quantum computing is going to force all of us to rethink information security. Our current encryption mechanisms are likely not enough. And we're going to have to think of new and better ways to deal with that. And quantum computing is here. Last year, I was in San Francisco meeting with IBM, and they were so excited because their plan was, and I'll have to call them back, is they wanted to sell 1,000 quantum computers in 2024. So I'm curious to see if they're meeting their goal. Anyway, that some of my lessons and thoughts from our cybersecurity event. I thought I would share that, and I'm happy to take questions or address anything anybody wants to know.
Absolutely. Just fascinating presentation all around. We have quite a few questions already on the front end of your presentation. So I'm going to go back to the first questions that were coming in while you were speaking about your transformation. So bear with me on that. I'll find the first one was from Harish. You want to ask the question, Harish?
Yes. So just wanted to, as you were moving money through MoneyGram, different parts of the world, with crypto coming in.
How are you stopping fraud with crypto and other forms of? Great question. So with crypto, we've engaged a partner called Elliptic. And what Elliptic allows us to do is to look forward and backwards in the blockchain. And so I can see who previously owned the coin. and who sold the coin. So when we think about fraud and we think about money laundering, being able to have visibility to that lineage in the blockchain allows us to stop and prevent a lot of the fraud. Now, it's yes, Bitcoin too, Mike. And so
Throw it in there because it's probably the same answer.
yeah, it is. Now, that being said, there are other limits we put on it. Like, we're not going to let you buy $100,000 in Bitcoin. We are still learning to manage it as well. And regulators, we are a licensed entity. Regulators are very skeptical. So we do sort of measure with caution the amount you can buy. You're not going to buy 100,000, maybe a couple of thousand at a time. And we're constantly tracing. We have a fraud and compliance team that's constantly monitoring what's going on there. Yeah. And then, I'm sorry, the second half of your question, Harish, I think was and other forms of transactions. Yeah. So the other forms of transactions, it's a very much a layered approach. For years, we have to keep list of sanctioned individuals. We have to keep list of sanctioned regions like Crimea, right? And so we do lots of sanction screening. We are constantly like, hey, do I know this customer? If a customer does something that seems a little unfamiliar based on their risk file, we'll actually put their transaction on hold and we'll tell them to call us. In the credit card business, we are buying services that help us identify and detect credit card numbers that may have been stolen to prevent fraud. Very often we will ask a consumer, what's the purpose of the transfer, especially if they're sending money to someone they've never transferred to before. And very often that's how we detect romance scams or sales scams. Somebody's trying to sell a puppy online, but not really selling the puppy. They're going to take the money. And so the layers and layers of mechanisms on our mobile app experience, we have behavioral monitoring, where we services that provide machine learning models, and based on someone's behavior or use of our app, then we're able to create some friction that can slow fraud down or stop it completely. Like, it can be a one-time password, or if their usage of the app doesn't align with sort of the standard pattern, then we'll ask them to call in and answer questions before we allow that transaction to complete.
So Joe, Lauren, thanks for that answer. And Lauren Rose asks, what are your thoughts on utilizing AI to track AML and fraud?
I think it's going to be an amazing tool, and we're experimenting with it in many ways. We are actually moving away from a very traditional sort of model that was based on a rules engine. And our rules engine had over 400 rules in it. So if you see this and this, it's probably fraud. Or if you see this, this, and this, it might be fraud. All right. And we would stop or pause things. And so from that perspective, moving to a real AI or machine learning model is going to actually, we think it's going to improve the efficiency of our business, because we think these rules are actually blocking transactions that we would have wanted to get through. And we're slowly sort of peeling apart those rules and separating them and moving into our AI model to detect those things. Now, around AML, it's pretty interesting, Lauren, is I think we will get better, and I do believe we are already getting better at matching individuals. So when it comes to money laundering, a lot of it is being able to detect individuals that have a money laundering history and tracking their identity, but people change their date of birth by one day, or people change the spelling of their name, or they might put their middle name and then their last name, right? So they try to change up and create multiple profiles on the platform. And we are experimenting with AI models that would help us do a better job of detecting AML. That's some area where we continue to grow, but I'm cautiously optimistic it's going to get better, because we don't have to hard code human rules. The machine will begin to detect patterns that look like money laundering or fraud.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Brian also had a comment on your video. So Brian, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was an amazing video, really fascinating. And as I was watching that video, I was getting confused. I was between the lines of a bank versus a transactional program versus credit card, debit card, and it seemed to all kind of blur together in that video. And that got me thinking: have things changed with regulations or restrictions or anything that has allowed that to kind of blur, or what has kind of transformed that?
Yeah, it's all about perception, smoke and mirrors. I'm gonna be blunt. We are not a bank. We don't have a banking license. We provide financial services. We're a money transfer organization, and we have to have licenses in the jurisdictions that we operate. However, we have banking partners.
Okay.
So when you see the debit card, we have a banking partner on the back end that we have to comply with sort of OCC regulations in the U.S. For that specific product. And as we go to Europe, we'll have to comply with European regulations as well. But they're banking partners. And you're right, the lines have blurred. And if I recall correctly, it was Chime about 2 years ago got in trouble for calling themselves a bank publicly. And so we've been pretty careful about, hey, we're not a bank. We don't have banking services, right? We don't hold the value. And the disclosures and things when you sign up for that, like that debit card product, will tell you that it's Pathward Bank that is helping us do that, and they have the technology and platform that we've integrated with, and we want to expand that. So maybe they're holding U.S. dollars, but we really good at the foreign exchange stuff. So we can say, hey, you've got $200 in U.S. Let's show you how many rupees that is, or how many pesos that is, and we can do the foreign exchange for them on the front end. But no, it does blur the lines perceptually. But I'll tell you, the regulators do not want us calling ourselves a bank. We would we'd be in deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Akshay, you have a question as well or a comment?
Yeah, while Joe was talking about a MoneyGram, I happened to just log into my MoneyGram account, and I found out you just, apart from sending money, you also now help people like us to top up their mobile plans. Wish I had known this a week back, because I had very a big problem last week. My wife had to travel to India urgently, and my prepaid SIM, which I usually carry, right, I had to go on the Airtel side and do the top up, and my Citibank card was not working online, or they had some fraud detection. So wish that's a good service. So the question is, do you foresee adding any future services into the MoneyGram app, bill payment? Because a lot of folks like us, right, our parents are in their 80s. We would love to support them, because they don't need money, but any support would be helpful, paying their bills or something.
Yeah. Actually, in the U.S., we have bill pay services. A lot of it is for people that want to pay their car loan, or need to pay rent, or they pay Rent-A-Center because they've rented a TV or something. We have definitely talked about expanding that internationally into other countries, and our partners, especially our digital partners, are more and more interested in seeing us help them do things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome. I think I asked if there are any final questions out there. I don't see anybody coming up with them. The final thing, I think, from my perspective, that I had not ever considered was turning off the business. So in your scenario, I know that's what you did now, right? So how do you measure the cost of that, and versus the lack of being taken over in a ransom, because you were able to block the end in mind, I guess, from the bad guys. But how do you do the calculation on when to do that versus letting it proceed and trying to stop it another way?
Yeah. So I've been trying to think of what that mathematical formula looks like myself, Mike, and done lots of reading. So if you look at like MGM last year, they had a similar attack. Cost them $100 million. Certainly, it didn't cost us anywhere near 100 million, but it's going to be in the millions when we're through with it. And here's the way in my head I sort of thought about it, Mike, is somebody gets into your house and they lock you down. It's going to cost you all the lost revenue to restore. And the longer that goes on, the more they're going to hold out for ransom, because they're either going to strangle your business to death or you're going to pay a ridiculous ransom. So I'll just pull numbers out of the air. What if it cost MGM 50 million in revenue, and but they paid a $50 million ransom to get things unlocked? So it's the loss of ransom, it's a loss of revenue. The other thing from an investor perspective is an investor, it's going to severely damage the value of the business for a while.
Absolutely.
Right. So if MGM lost 100 million, right, in hard cost, what did it cost their business in the near term in value? 1 billion, 2 billion, probably.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm thinking about it is these, these criminals, they come in. What they're really after is a score of, let's say, 5 to 10 million. They're going to cost you hard dollars, probably 5 times that. And then the value of the business is going to be 10 times that number.
Absolutely.
Just some of the reading I've done as we work through this, and late nights in a hotel, that's how I thought about it. And that's why, it's not an embezzlement scheme. It's not a bank robbery for $1 million, right? You're talking tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to organizations that get locked down.
Absolutely.
And we've been talking to law enforcement. So when the FBI says you're really fortunate to have made the decision you did, because most companies, they said, will try to fight these types of predators while keeping things online. And they're hard to beat while you're still up and they still have access. So I told them, I said, well, I don't feel so fortunate, but I'll take your word. Yeah.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I very much appreciate you coming out tonight. It was a fascinating presentation, very thoughtful. I love the scenarios. I'm appreciative that you took care of your customers and your business by shutting it down. Right. So that was a bold move. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I think from a timing perspective, folks, we're not going to have time to do any of the follow-up slides. I threw up the membership slide as we were kind of wrapping this, just to remind you, join on Meetup. Just go to Meetup and look up AITP Lone Star. We're going to be voting on the champions for this year, this month, and then in November we'll unveil the winners, and I think there will be multiple. So thanks, Joe, very much for coming out tonight. Thanks, guys, for coming out from the board. And I think next time we're going to be talking about who won the championships, and also we'll have a very deep dive into our AITP Lone Star branded technical learning platform that we will debut in January, and we'll have more details about that. But for now, I think we're just going to say God bless, and we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike. Bye-bye.
Appreciate you guys.